So my friend and I'm not going to tell you his name yet, are going to share stories about challenges, growth, mistakes we've made going back 5, 10, even more years. Because today we're celebrating our teaching and coaching anniversaries together. So if you feel like you're starting something big, like becoming a teacher, or you want to pivot like us into accent coaching, or maybe it's just getting difficult finding time for your language practice, then this is going to be a really inspiring episode for you. And you'll even get to hear how I knew that I was going to be a teacher at age 7. So let's get on with the show. I'm Bianca, your personal American accent coach, and I'm here to help you master an American accent in English because your voice is your choice when it comes to how you sound. I try to release a podcast episode every 2 weeks, and so you should really subscribe to whatever podcast platform you use so that you don't miss the newest episode. And by the way, if you want to see the full video of the episode, it's available at Accent Coach Bianca on YouTube. Now, let's get on with the show. Hey, I'm so glad to see you again. And I wanted to say that, I don't know if you remember this, but one of the first times that we did a podcast episode together or a clubhouse thing, I don't even remember what it was. I remember asking you about how to pronounce your name correctly because I've always had trouble with people mispronouncing my name. And I thought, even though I'm speaking some Spanish these days, I don't know where the syllable stress is in your name. So why don't you, because I'm calling you Drew these days, why don't you tell us your full name and give us a little background about you for people who don't know you?
Sure. So hi, it's good to see you again. And I always love doing collabs with you. And it's always a pleasure to be here. So my name, we know that probably if you guys watching, you know that in English, stress changes and we have schwas and we have reduced vowels and stuff like that. But in Spanish, we don't. So you're going to say the 3 syllables clearly in my name, and the main stress is on the second syllable. So it's Asdruval. That's how you pronounce it. But I always ask my English-speaking friends to call me Drew because it makes it a lot easier for them. So yeah, well, I'm from Guatemala. I was born and raised here in Guatemala. I'm 28 years old and I'm an English teacher. Actually, today, as you guys can see in the title, we're talking about our experience and how long we've been doing this, a long time for the both of us. And I consider myself a passionate educator. I feel like I could die teaching. I know I'll be doing this for a long time.
Wow.
And
let me stop you there for a second.
Sure.
So you say you could die teaching. I presume die happy. And so let's rewind the clock. Let's rewind the clock because we're celebrating some anniversaries. Why don't we start back in the day? So tell us, how did you know you wanted to teach, or what were your beginnings like back then?
Well, it was kind of weird actually because I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I just didn't know I wanted to be an English teacher because I started with no training at all. I didn't get the proper training because my original plan after graduating from high school was clinical psychology. Then, 4 years into the major, I realized I probably look more like a patient and not a therapist. So I dropped out of college. Do I regret it? I actually don't. I feel like I learned a lot. Psychology is super interesting and it goes hand in hand with education. So many of the things I learned, I still apply to this day. But I was already working as a teacher. It was probably my hobby. I was in love with English since school. And not at the beginning, though. It was hard for me. I graduated with an intermediate, upper intermediate level. So they called me to cover for a teacher for a couple of weeks. And because I was already going to the school I graduated from once a week to teach psychology because I was studying psychology. So I was teaching the class of psychology to 11th grade, the equivalent to 11th grade in the States. So they called me hey, you have a good level of English. Why don't you cover for this teacher? It's just going to be a couple of weeks. And I said, why not? She never came back. I think she got sick, or my theory today is she found another job. But I stayed there for a full semester from July till the end of the year. And they offered me the position for the next year. So yeah, that's how I started, but it wasn't in my plans. It wasn't part of my plans. I was applying to call centers and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I didn't start with the proper training, but they were like training me along the way. And little by little, I started falling in love with teaching, but I was still teaching psychology, philosophy as well, research methodologies
Uh-huh.
at this school. So I thought, well, since I'm studying psychology, when I
Yeah.
finish, I can be a teacher at a university or something like that, but Spanish
Mhm.
classes. Then the pandemic hit, and that was when I said, maybe this is what I'm going to do for a living. And I fell in love even more with the language and teaching. So here I am,
Oh.
10 years later. Yeah.
Oh my God. That's so funny too, because I mean, I know you, we've done a lot of stuff together,
Yeah,
but I also, COVID was really a turning point for me,
it
right?
was.
And that's now, it's been 5 years, right? At least since like the shutdown and things like that. And I think we kind of have like a parallel thing going on. You know, you're much younger than me, I think, but because I was not fresh out of school when a couple years before that I had already had my master's and things like that. But that was when, for me at the same time, COVID was like a catalyst, let's say, right? Because I was
Hmm.
also working in a school. I had been working in a school already for like 5 years, and it didn't really suit me. I didn't love working in a high school. It just kind of wasn't for me. But it was the thing that brought me to Mexico. And as you know, I'm still here in
Yeah.
Mexico. What is it now? 7, 8 years later, at least. Woof, long time. But then during COVID, right, I had a lot of personal experience working online, taking classes. I did my master's online, and this is back in the day when everyone thought, you were crazy or lazy. And
Yeah.
but then COVID hit, and suddenly, oh, everyone suddenly knows what Zoom is, and things like that. And I found that I was really overworked, from all that because we had to do just a lot more extra work and educating everybody. And I felt really burnt out. And I thought, you know what? I already have a lot of skills in this area, right, in the online space, not so much in social media. But for me, that's when I said, you know what? I'm not going to go back to the school when they open back up. I'm going to go full time teaching accents only, accent coaching, because before that I had been doing language. And so my pivot was more into that, right? So
Sure.
so you also now are, I think, more known for kind of specializing in pronunciation and accent coaching too. So what happened there? Because I'm hearing you were teaching English and
Yeah.
then but we're missing a part of the story. So what happened then after COVID for you?
So,
Or
I mean, unlike you, that you didn't enjoy like the school experience, I did enjoy it. Like, I think it was a great start for me. Although, like, I think you and I share something else that we're part of the LGBTQI plus community, and here in Guatemala, that is not always the best case scenario for a teacher. So, schools tend to be a bit traditional. So the reason why I never went back to school was because when I started posting content on social media, I felt more like myself. And I was
uh-huh.
more open about things
Uh-huh.
that schools don't want you to be open about when you are a
Yeah.
teacher. And I get it. Like they have all the right. If it's a private school, like whatever, they can set the rules.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna fight with it. So I said, well, I'm already teaching online because a friend asked me for help to apply for a call center. And I helped him, and he said, why don't you start teaching online? I mean, we're all locked up. So I said, sure, why not? So I opened my Instagram page, my TikTok page. My first TikTok was awful, but people started following me, especially people who already knew me. So,
Yes, thanks,
yeah,
Grandma.
yeah.
Thanks, Grandma, for downloading TikTok just so you
Exactly,
can follow me.
yeah. So, well, the pronunciation thing is that during the pandemic, I started focusing more on improving my pronunciation. I started college, like for my teaching degree in 2020, before the pandemic, and I had this course or this subject called oral communication and pronunciation. They were
Hmm.
teaching us phonetics at
Okay.
college. So I fell in love with it. I fell in love with phonetics. When I started learning
Yeah.
about phonetics, I realized, oh, so this is how you teach pronunciation. So this is what this is all about. So I
Oh,
fell
yeah.
in love even more with languages, right?
I gotta stop you. Like, stop right there because that's how, let's rewind a little bit more
Yeah.
in my history. The reason that I fell in love too, well, I wouldn't say with teaching English yet,
Hmm.
but when I was in university, I was linguistics major and
Oh, cool.
I had done a year in France as an exchange student. So my senior year of high school, I was in France. I come back and then I start going to university, right? And lo and behold, I don't know, this is not a common course, but in my university, there was a course called French phonetics.
Yeah.
And I barely even knew what it was going to be about, but I signed up for it because, I already spoke French and I thought, let me see what this is about. I need the credits. And man, did I fall in love with IPA and
Yeah.
phonetics, right? So for me, it was through French because if you speak a little bit of French, the pronunciation difficulties in English. A lot of them are, thanks very much to the French, and
Yeah.
so learning that was like, oh my God, there's so many vowels, and you can see it, you can chart it out, you can
Yeah.
map it, like you can map the mouth, and suddenly it was like, why do we not learn this in school? Most
Exactly.
people.
Exactly. So that was my first contact with IPA, and I was like, oh, so this is why I was never able to pronounce the voiceless TH sound or something like that.
Uh-huh.
So I started improving because I
Yeah.
was intentional about it, and I started teaching it. I think I dropped out of college again because of other reasons. But I met Hadar. I'm pretty sure
Yep. Yeah,
you
yeah.
know
I
who
was in her
Hadar is.
teaching. I was in her teaching club. Yeah, the teachers.
So
Exactly.
I had already been following her for a while, and I knew she was using the IPA. I was just not familiar with it until I started learning it at school. I mean, at college. The thing is, I improved my pronunciation. Like I saw progress. I realized I was moving forward when it comes to improving my accent or my pronunciation. So I started teaching and focusing on that, and that's when I started making my content more like leaning towards pronunciation and understanding the difference between pronunciation and accent and
Yeah.
helping people realize that even if it's not your main goal, like you don't need to sound like a native, but you can if you want to. So yeah, that's how it all started. Like that's how I became like a pronunciation coach.
Uh-huh.
And now I'm back at school, back in college, and I had to take that class again this semester actually because when I dropped out,
Yeah.
I didn't finish the semester. So
Oh.
I had to take it again. It's so funny because the first half of the semester was like I already know everything, but I'm still gonna pretend I don't and study it again. And there was a part about connected speech and things like that was kind of challenging because I usually focus more on the IPA
Mhm.
and intonation and stuff. But then when we started learning about connected speech and linking and assimilation and things like that, I had to review. So it was a challenge and I loved
Oh
it.
my God. Yeah.
And I was always participating in class. I was so in Spanish we use the word castroso.
Oh, I
Uh,
don't know this
that
one.
is
What does it
someone
mean?
who is, that person who's always raising their hand because they think they know everything. That was me.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
That was me in the pronunciation class.
This
Yeah.
how great, like, though you get to shine, and you're probably looking to your classmates going, no guys, really, this is the best, this is so useful,
Yeah.
and they don't even realize probably how important it is to kind of like with my French phonetics class. It was like, oh, like a light bulb just went off, and I thought this is the best tool that I can think of to kind of bridge the gap, right, between what people have not learned and what we kind of know somewhere in our brains, but it
Yeah.
doesn't really make sense until we have this tool. So yeah, this is awesome, and it's so funny that you're kind of relearning this again
Hmm.
because we're recording this in June, and I don't know if you're a fan of Broadway, but the Hamilton musical is 10 years old this year. So I'm
Oh,
doing a series of videos. So speaking of like kind of relearning and digging deeper than you ever did before, I'm looking at all of the music for Hamilton and the lyrics and things like that. And I'm just digging in there with like both hands. And I'm just shocked at all the little things that I'm seeing that I never saw before. Even being a fan of the musical for so long, but just like trying to explain it to other people and break it down. Like you said, the connected speech, right? There's different kind of rules or patterns that we
yeah.
follow. And if you think about like the rapping in Hamilton or just connected speech in general and just the amazing little things that go into it. So I've also had like a resurgence lately in like oh my God, this is amazing. How do I teach this? And I get so
Sure.
excited about sharing these things,
It
with
is.
everybody
Like
too.
going back to what you mentioned about your French phonetics class, I feel like even though you are a native speaker of English and I'm not, like we both went through the same experience because I was learning the language and the phonetics of the language in order to become a better teacher, if you will.
Hmm.
And even though you were already a native speaker of English, you still went through the experience of learning the phonetics of a different language, which gave you that valuable experience of being a student, of a learner of a second language. I think that adds a lot of value to our teaching practice.
Oh gosh, yeah, yeah. I would say so. I don't know if I ever told you this. Most people in the U.S. they have a second language in school, in high school, and
Hmm.
generally it's Spanish. Well, where
Yeah,
I grew up, it was actually closer to the Canadian border, so we had a choice between Spanish and French. And because we're so close to Canada, I took French,
sure,
and so I never took any class in Spanish until I moved to Mexico. So now I'm learning Spanish, right? But kind of also through French because they're
sure.
both Latin languages and they've got a lot of similarities. And also when I was younger, let's say, I also lived in Jordan, so I was learning Arabic when I was there.
I did not
Yeah.
know that.
Uh-huh. And so I would say now my Spanish is better than my Arabic. But also in high school, I think in high school or university, I forget, I had the opportunity to take some Russian. I took a semester of German as well. So, like, for me, I just love how, let's say, L1, language one, is going to influence any other language, that you speak, or other languages,
Yeah,
that you speak. And so, like when you were mentioning earlier about the vowels, maybe somebody out there is listening and going like, oh yeah, I didn't really realize that, whether they're a
sure.
Spanish speaker or not, they might not know that. So I feel like besides this tool of IPA, another thing that's super valuable is knowing just kind of about people and languages and learning styles
Yeah.
and where they're coming from, to better pinpoint all that stuff that's going on. So, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure we've both become amazing teachers in the last couple of years. Let's talk about then also the business side of
Hmm.
things because you've been teaching for 10 years and we can say now the last 5 years for you have been online, but
Yeah.
also since we first met, I've seen your growth just like rocket. So talk to me a little bit about some of the challenges you've overcome, going from like let's say casual TikToker to now and having classes. And I know you're going to tell us about a class that's opening up in July again and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But tell us how you kind of have dealt with making this work on your own, let's say.
So I feel like the greatest challenge that I'm still learning to face or to overcome is being your own boss in some way. Even though like people always ask me like when I meet someone in person, someone who follows me, it happened to me a couple of weeks back and it was amazing. Like I was drinking with a couple of friends and the waitress or the server at the restaurant, she stopped me when we left. She was like, "Excuse me, are you Asdruval?" And I said, "Yeah, hi. I follow you on social media and I just want to tell you that I started learning English because of you." Those words like oh it makes me want to cry because
Uh-huh.
like I'm these days I've been in the mood of I'm happy and I can't believe and I'm shocked about 10 years of experience. But the thing is, being your own boss is the biggest challenge because I have never been the most organized person in the world. So I worked at three different schools before working at the university I'm teaching at right now. And they helped me a lot with order and organization, lesson planning, those things that even though there are plenty of resources online now, you still need to have some knowledge about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they gave me structure. I felt safe working at a school because I had a framework. I had deadlines. I had a boss asking me for, hey, I want to see what you're doing, right? What you're teaching. Now that I'm on my own, it's super challenging sometimes, like pushing myself to do my best. Like I always
Yeah.
try to do my best, but like pushing myself to be a bit more organized. I've bought, you have no idea how many notebooks, lesson planners I have here of all the times I've tried to become a more organized person. So that's been the biggest challenge. But even like despite all those failed attempts, I've still enjoyed the experience of becoming an online trainer, coach, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, those are some of the challenges. Another challenge is your income. Like you have to get used to the idea of having
Fluctuating
exactly,
income
yeah,
or
fluctuating income. Like
unreliable.
it's
Uh-huh.
unreliable because you don't
Yeah.
know like you can open a new course and 10 students enroll but you're never 100% sure they will be there next month the next month. So that has happened to me. And even when I've tried not to feel like it's my fault that one student says, hey, I won't be in the course next month, like you always get that feeling like did I do something wrong?
Uh-huh.
Is
Uh-huh.
is the class not engaging enough?
You can't help it. Yeah, you always think it's about you. When in
Exactly.
reality, if you talk to people after the fact, a lot of times they're just too busy, right? They have obligations, right? I'm the same way. I think, oh, it must all be about me,
Hmm.
and that's just my ego talking when I know for a fact most of the time it's not. And
Exactly.
sometimes it's not a good fit, and that's cool. That's great because I'd rather have a hard no than I don't really know,
Yeah.
and because there's plenty of other ways for people to help themselves, and there's plenty of other coaches there that it could be a better
Yeah.
fit, and that's one
Exactly.
reason I,
And
I like to
that's
know
that's
you.
some another thing, and like one of the most valuable lessons that I've learned as a teacher, and that I always try to be clear about since the beginning with my students, is that there is no, help me with this phrase because I always forget. There is no one size fits all.
Oh yeah, I think that sounds right. There's no one size fits all, right? If we're
Yeah,
talking about solutions, we're talking about
exactly.
yeah, nothing's perfect, right? Yeah.
So, and we all learn in different ways. So, what I
Mhm.
do with my private classes, because I also teach private one-on-one lessons, what I do in my conversation clubs, what I do in my group lessons, what I do in my TikTok lives, might
Yeah.
not work for everyone the same way.
Hmm.
Some
Hmm.
people reach out to me because what they were doing before was not working for them, and suddenly they come across my page and they're like, this is the guy I want to learn from, and
Uh-huh.
it ends up working. So yeah,
Uh-huh.
I've learned
Cool.
that throughout the years. That's why every year I try to be
Or
more
niche down.
specific about my
Mhm.
target, like who I'm
Mhm.
reaching
Your audience,
for.
yeah.
Exactly.
You want to niche down every year a little
Yeah,
bit more specific about your target audience. Yeah, that totally
exactly.
makes sense. And what you said about the different kind of, how do I want to say, medias, I guess, is like, do you notice this too, that the dynamic is completely different, right? The
Yeah.
feel of how you're doing each different thing. Like, if I'm in a one-on-one lesson, it's a totally different feel because my client
Hmm.
is kind of driving the bus, right? And we're doing
Yeah.
everything about what they need versus a group lesson, right? And then it's about the experience, it's about creating the community for me versus like doing something that's broadcast, that's a one to many kind of thing. And I want to say what you mentioned earlier about this person who came up to you and said this great thing is that I don't know about you, but I often forget, like, oh, I'm just busy making media, making media, making media. And I sometimes forget that we reach human beings and people and we
Exactly.
affect their lives. And it's really interesting that when that click happens, when they find something valuable or meaningful, or you explain something in just the right way that gives them motivation or satisfies, let's say, a need that they had. They needed a little thing, and you were the one to be able to express that to them. Oh, I just love that. Like, that's my favorite
Yeah.
thing.
I
You
don't know if
know?
this has happened to you, but like sometimes we, content creators in general, we experience this infamous imposter syndrome. Because sometimes when I read comments on, like, I'm always checking comments and the interactions on media, because you kind of start becoming an expert in
Yep.
those things when you post content. So I always check like who's seen the video, who's liked the video, who has commented on the video. And sometimes I get comments like, thank you, teacher, I always learn a lot from your videos. And I start thinking like, is that comment like genuine? Have they really learned something from my videos?
Mm.
So and I start second guessing myself.
Did they take the time? Like, they took the time to write this, right? So,
Yeah,
so even that's a big ask, I feel like, these days with people's attention spans
yeah.
and things like that. Side note, anybody listening to this, leave a comment. No, just kidding. But like, that's a lot of energy. And I don't know about you, but when I'm kind of scrolling or watching things, like, sometimes I think, oh yeah, I'll leave a comment. But do I most of the time? No, that thought is quite fleeting. So even
Yeah,
those, I feel like those little things, positive or negative, right? There's still some kind of reaction that provoked
sure.
something strong in somebody. So I think, yeah, I think that you're totally on the right track. And speaking of which, speaking of creating content, imposter syndrome, did you ever feel like you had a growth in maybe making videos, editing the videos, sending them out, that kind of thing? Because for me, that was a big hurdle. Not so much being camera shy or anything like that, but for me, it was more the technical aspect. So, in terms of that kind of tech stuff, what do you feel like were your areas of growth lately in there?
So I feel like my first couple of years creating content was basically using the TikTok app. Like
Hmm.
I would just literally record the video on TikTok, use the TikTok editing tools, which are really good, and then download the video sometimes with watermark because I didn't know there was an option for, I didn't know a lot of things, so I've
Yeah.
improved that. Like now I don't use TikTok, I use CapCut, so I
Right.
use the app to record the video and edit and include captions and stuff. So now I can post that same video to both of my social media, sometimes to YouTube as well. I use the paid version because I learned that if you want better quality, sometimes you have to pay for things. Sometimes the free stuff is enough.
Can I pause you for a second? Do you mean
Sure.
you pay for the version of CapCut or for
CapCut.
TikTok?
So I've improved my editing. I mean, they're still, I consider they're basic, but for example, I already include captions, sometimes both in Spanish and English. And I try to use a beautiful color or something that
Yeah.
matches. I'm kind of picky when it comes to how things look. So
The aesthetic.
yeah, the aesthetic of the video. So I've improved a lot in that. Also, sound quality. I buy microphones. I buy things like that.
Right.
But it's always like, I don't know about you, but like I edit my own videos, and sometimes a 1 minute video takes 25 minutes to edit.
People don't realize, like
Yeah.
from start to finish, let's say conception, maybe writing a draft of a script, like actually filming, saying like, oh man, I ran out of battery, let me charge this thing up again and do it over, and then the editing, and then the posting and writing up a there's just so many things, right? And that people don't realize, every 1 minute of video that somebody watches, it takes probably about an hour, right? And
Yeah.
that's with seasoned hands, right? That's with like having some experience, like you or I, And
Yeah.
so yeah, people don't realize how much work goes into it. And so I recognize, I know you're doing a great job.
Thank you very
I
much. I
know I
appreciate.
know what the work
Same
is.
with, I mean, same for you. Like, when I see your videos, they are so good. Like, I'm talking about the
Oh,
technical part. Of course, the content as well is super useful. But now that we're talking about the tech stuff, wow, your videos are amazing. And I know that I'm capable of doing that. But sometimes, to be honest, I'm just like, I'm gonna stick to the simple things now, just for now, because I have a lot of work. Now
I
that I'm on
celebrate.
vacation, I will probably start my own podcast. I'm not announcing it yet because I don't want to be a liar,
Well, by the
but
time this comes out, then we're gonna know. We're
maybe,
gonna
yeah.
I'll do your
But
first episode with you. Don't worry.
oh, please, yeah, you'll
Uh,
definitely be one of my first guests. The thing
Absolutely.
is, it takes time. It's you're investing a lot of, sometimes not just money but time, and you
Speaking
learn,
of,
and it's cool because you learn things and skills that you never thought you would use.
yes, yes. Not only that, I feel like I've learned and forgotten more skills than a lot of people have ever learned. In some of these things, like I don't know if this is the case with you, but a while ago I was like, well, gonna have to learn WordPress now, right? Got to do that first website for free. Did my WordPress, promptly forgot how to do it, but went through the motions on that. Was hours and hours, right?
Yeah.
Not just the money, like you said, it's the time. But coming back to the videos, and when you mentioned CapCut and you said, the pro version is just worth it. I can tell you what's worth it to me is I have an editor now. Like, I don't edit my own stuff hardly
Oh, that's
anymore. If there's
so
something
nice.
special that comes up, if it's like a last minute thing, like I'll do it. But like you said, I'll do it in a basic way, right? Done is better
Sure.
than perfect. So for me, like I'll still do those things on my own. But now what I'm trying to do, if we're talking like business strategy, let's say, is I'm trying to hand off all the things that I could do, but is probably not where I should be spending my time. And I'm
Sure.
trying to spend my time, for example, writing the script, right? I know I can get someone to write scripts for me maybe in the future, but nobody knows that stuff like I do. You know what I mean? So I've
Exactly.
spent a lot
Yeah.
of time revising it and things like that. So where's my time best spent these days? Writing scripts for YouTube videos, right? Finding interesting people for podcast episodes. These things I believe are what we call evergreen. So for people who
Hmm.
are listening, evergreen means it's not, I don't know, New Year's 2026. It's not a special edition kind of thing that's one and done. Evergreen is content that is always going to be useful, for somebody. So I'm focusing more on the evergreen stuff. And believe it or
Yeah.
not, I would say more long format stuff, because the shelf life of a short or a reel is not that long. I mean, I know we can repost and things like that. And I know attention spans are getting shorter, but I think the pendulum is swinging the other way too, where now people are going to be more interested in calming kind of long format, like, oh, I'm going to read this entire article,
Yeah.
and things like that. So I feel like that pendulum might be swinging.
And I feel
Yeah.
like there's always gonna be, I mean, because sadly, kids and teenagers are going to face a world that will not require a super long attention span from them.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's a reality, but I feel like there's always going to be an audience for us that like who like to speak a little bit more. Because
Yeah.
I've tried short format videos, and even though I always try to stick to 1.5 minutes, I miss my long videos from YouTube. But I feel like there's always going to be someone who watches, because I watch long video format when I'm eating. Like every time I have breakfast, lunch, or
Mm-hmm.
dinner, I always
Yeah.
play a video of a podcast that I like
Ah,
or a
nice.
YouTuber that I follow, and I pay
Mm-hmm.
attention. Like I'm eating and I'm actually interacting, and I also use it as my passive English practice, because newsflash, you still need to practice every day. So yeah, I feel like there's always going to be someone who is willing to watch what we do.
Exactly. And I think what you said too speaks to like how there's different audiences for different things, right? So if one person, when they're eating, they tend to scroll and they're looking at 1 minute videos, right? You've got some of that. Someone's going to be like, "Oh, who's this Drew character?" Right? I wonder what he can teach me today.
Yeah,
And then you might get somebody who then says, "Oh, I really like his stuff and I'm going to watch some of his longer stuff too." So I think it
yeah,
also, having both of those, shall we call them feeds, I guess, or funnels or whatever, then it gets people who are more interested, and they're kind of self-selecting, right? Because not everyone's
sure.
gonna want that. Good. I don't want all the people from all the places who only want, let's say, short little tips and tricks, right? I'm looking in the end for people who are interested in this, like us. That's the
Exactly.
ideal kind of person for us.
Yeah, I am very intentional. I consider myself a very intentional content consumer, I guess.
Hmm.
Even with English videos, like I still watch teachers online on TikTok especially, like
Hmm.
because I still need to learn. Sometimes I forget things, or sometimes I just grab ideas like, I like the way he's explaining this, so I'll probably do
Hmm.
something similar.
Hmm.
So I am very intentional about the things that I like. Sometimes I just watch something, and if I didn't like it, I just don't press on the like button.
Yep.
I'm that intentional. So
Hmm.
I've seen that, sadly, again, the creators that have more followers are usually the ones that post videos, like 30-second videos, like
Hmm.
however, sin embargo, but
Hmm.
pero, and I mean that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
I have nothing against it. I've done a couple of videos that like that,
Hmm.
but there is a native speaker that I follow. She's from the U.S. I'm not sure whether she's a teacher or not,
Hmm.
but the way she explains things, first of all, she's always speaking in English, of course,
Yeah.
but like the visuals, the way she presents the information and she explains the words, she's always like
Hmm.
comparing things like, what is the difference between however, nevertheless, and things like that. And she gives you examples. And she says,
Hmm.
but in the US, we say it this way. So it's a longer video for probably
Yeah.
just two simple words.
Yeah.
It's a 3 minute video, but you get a lot of information from it.
A lot more of it. Probably more information from one 3 minute video, or more helpful information than you
Yeah,
would two, let's say, 1.5 minute videos.
exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. And I think what we do, what they do, even if none of us know it, is we're training our audiences, right? So we're
Hmm.
training them to expect, hey, I'm the person that does, I compare two words and that's it, and that's all you're going to see, right? So after you build up your content, you also kind of reinforce the kind of people that follow you,
Yeah.
and I think I do the same thing, right? If I've watched 10 videos of somebody else's and they all kind of follow a pattern, well, on video 11, I'm gonna expect that too. Oh,
Sure.
that's cool. Maybe there's another playlist and I'll check that out too. But you get trained, in a way. So yeah. Okay, so I have one thing that I wanted to tell you, actually, and it's something I've learned, throughout this time. We're talking about our anniversary. It's been 5 years, 10 years. Actually, let me rewind a little bit. How old was I when I started teaching? 7 years old. Like, and this is a memory that is so strong for me, but I was in
All
about the
right.
second grade, I think, and I lived in the state of Ohio. I don't know if you know about the state of Ohio. It's about as we were at that time in the 80s, it was about as white as you can get. And so here I was in my school, and during that time there were a lot of, wars and things going on in Asia. And we had in our school, we had a little girl who was a refugee, and I didn't know what a refugee was at that time, but she was from Cambodia, And so this little girl came into my class and knew nothing of English, right? Her family had moved here. And I remember that my teacher saw that I was, I don't know, maybe antsy, bored, I don't know, gave me the job of teaching her English.
All
And so
right.
I would put little post-it notes on things, like garbage can, window, things like that. And I think that that's when I knew that I was good at teaching, right? Even from an
Sure.
early age. And then I learned I love languages, and later, I put them together. And then we started talking about the tech stuff and the business stuff too. So I kind of wanted to share a quote that I have gotten. You said your bookshelf is full of things. I've also read a lot of books and taken a lot of courses and things like that. And there's this one kind of community that I'm a part of. And there's a saying that they have. This is a great quote for anybody who's looking to do like us, or who just is an English teacher and wants to kind of expand their English teaching business, which, write this down, guys, get a pencil. The quote is, your business will grow to the level of problems you're willing to handle,
Wow.
right? And at first I was like, oh, that's a nice quote. But ever since then, I've realized, I'm like, okay, I am willing to learn how to make a web page. I'm willing to learn WordPress. Okay, done. I am willing to now move that to Squarespace. Okay, done. Great. Now I am willing to learn about sales funnels, right? So every time you're willing to take on a problem, like that's how you know there's growth
Yeah.
happening there. Yeah. And I just wanted to share that too, since we were talking about tech
Love it.
and business, and things like that. So for me, it's been a long time. For both of us, we're kind of celebrating our kind of COVID anniversary of 5 years and teaching even longer. But one final question for you, Drew, is do you feel like you have any regrets, in all this time?
Wow, that's a really deep question. But just before I answer, and I'll try to connect this idea to my answer. When you mentioned your story from Ohio, I also realized I wanted to be a teacher when I was little because I was never good at with numbers. So math and classes like chemistry, math, statistics, like physics, it was always hard for me. I've always been a language guy, social studies, history, so
So
biology even. But my way of coping with this difficulty was memorizing stuff and understanding processes and then repeating them to my students. Like, okay, I need to explain this to someone for it to stay in my long-term memory.
oh yeah,
I
yeah.
back then I did not know that was like a cognitive strategy and something that I now use with my students and things like that. Now the technical stuff. But I became less shy because I was shy. I was super shy. So I got used to speaking in public. Then I got singing lessons, so I was used to singing in public. Then I started going to church, and in church, I was again the castroso, the know-it-all of the Bible. So I became a teacher at church. I and a preacher. I was preaching. I was part of the youth branch, I guess, of the church.
Right. Yeah.
So I was every Saturday preaching and sharing messages about the Bible to teenagers, random people in my neighborhood. 20,
I
25
never knew
people
that.
every Saturday. I started gaining experience until I realized I wanted to be a teacher. But
Oh, no kidding.
what do I regret?
Uh-huh.
Even though I already had all that experience when I started teaching, the only thing I regret is not realizing sooner that I wanted to be a teacher, like an English teacher, because I could have started my teaching degree earlier. But that is the only thing. Like, other than that, I would totally do everything exactly the same way I've done it because I'm here because of the decisions I've made. It's been 10 years. Every time I say it, I just can't believe it and I want to cry. Because teaching and finding my dream and finding my passion, it happened when I was going through really dark times in my life. So finding my passion was like a life savior. As lifesaver, it was like
Lifesaver. It was a lifesaver. Yeah.
it was a lifesaver. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So whenever I felt like lonely, like I can't do this anymore, I'm just going down this depression hole or whatever.
Yeah.
I always felt okay, but I'm still doing what I love, and okay, I'm gonna record a video. I'm going tomorrow to a different school to teach other teachers. So I this is always something that motivates me. And of course, I have friends and I have my safe space and I've got people who are always supporting me. But back in the day when I didn't know where to go or what to do, teaching was the thing that helped me stand up and helped me see the light at the end of the tunnel. So
Wow,
I know
yeah.
that some people like they find a job and they're like, "Oh yeah, I love my job." It's probably not their passion. I am privileged of having my job and what I do for a living is at the same time what I love doing.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah,
Passion, dedication,
yeah,
right? Motivation, all of these things, I think, like how you just described that made me think about like what is the thing that gives me the greatest joy? Absolutely helping somebody else, right?
hmm
So, and that's on a regular day. And I know that when I'm kind of down in the dumps, right? You focus so much on yourself, on yourself, on yourself, right?
hmm
And but as soon as you can turn that around and help somebody else, like that's the thing that helps me the most, right?
yeah,
Is helping somebody else. So I think yeah, putting that into perspective and making it almost like a like this is a career choice. Yeah, I'm helping you guys, but it's for me. It gives me a lot of pleasure,
yeah.
to do this. And yeah, isn't it amazing? Isn't it wonderful? I'm so
It
grateful
is.
that we can live in an age where we can do this now, and maybe that's really only truly been true since COVID because suddenly everybody was online, right? And suddenly we
Yeah,
wanted all that connection and we found a way to kind of put all that together, so part of it was us and part of it was the climate and the environment and things like that, but it's opened up these doors not just for you and me, but for all the people who want things like this, right? They
yeah.
maybe they want to speak more clearly so they can get a job promotion or that they can make connections with people that they didn't feel comfortable with before. To me, that's just like the icing on the top of the cake, I would say,
Yeah. Every time I finish like a semester at the university I teach at, or a course with, or a lesson, even a lesson with one of my private students, I always ask them, "What are your takeaways?" Like, not just what have you learned, of course. Like, have you learned the past simple, the past progressive? Did you learn how to pronounce the word focus correctly? Yeah, but that's important.
That's a
But
good one.
I always ask them about their takeaways, and there's something I've heard a couple times that I know it's one of my signature elements of my lessons, and is a couple of my students always tell me, I feel safe, like I feel like I can make mistakes and I'm not being judged. And that is just, if that is the only thing they can take away, they learned from my class, or they learned in my
Right.
class, that's enough.
That's
If they
huge. Are you
feel
kidding?
safe, yeah,
Yes,
if they
and
feel
that speaks
safe,
volumes because
yeah,
that just tells us that people didn't feel safe all that time, probably years, and
exactly,
so wow, yeah, so you're creating this little nest,
yeah,
right? And so because what's most important when somebody shows up to a group class, to one-on-one, shows up to watch a video, right? You cannot move forward without making mistakes, right? And
exactly,
recognizing that you're making a mistake, or an error. And so closing yourself off to even that possibility is doing yourself a huge disservice, right? So we
yeah,
have to make people feel really comfortable. Yeah. The one thing that I keep hearing over and over again from me, which I realize now is like, kind of like tells me what other people see me as, and that kind of gives me a positive feedback loop to kind of my identity as a teacher, is that people will often tell me like, I never got it until now. Like
hmm
people have explained it to me so many different ways, and I just never got it until
yeah,
now. So I think maybe my superpower is being able to break down things into units that are small enough to where things actually make sense,
yeah,
and so because let's face it, language is complicated,
it
speaking is
is.
complicated, there's a lot going on, and so we need strategies, we need tools, we need people to help us, and things like that. So speaking of which, you mentioned courses a minute ago, and I think you're opening up a course soon.
Yeah.
Is that right?
So every year I host this speaking club or conversation club online. It actually started back in February, but it stopped for a couple of months. So now in July 2025, whenever you're watching this, if it's till 2025, I'm probably still hosting the club. You can join. It's not like we are going to follow a strict sequence. It's just random topics every week that will help you develop that speaking practice that you probably don't have. It doesn't matter if you're already studying at a different place. It's not a language course. It's an opportunity and a space twice a week where you can speak. Like literally just that.
Where you can make mistakes.
And you can make mistakes and you can build community with other people who are on the same path. And I'll be there to help you out, and I'll be there to ask you questions and correct pronunciation mistakes and things like that, but motivating you. So that's what I'll be doing. It's going to be twice a week, Monday and Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Guatemala time. I'm still not sure, like 7 or 7:30, but usually night or evenings because people work. So yeah, that's what I'll be doing. And I'm still teaching private lessons. So if I have any space available, you guys can reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to give you all the information.
Awesome. Okay, where should we find you then? Is TikTok the best place? Do you have a website? Like, where do we?
I do, but I feel like the best option would be Instagram.
Okay.
It's the same user that I use on TikTok. That is Inglés con Asdru. That is my handle, my social media handle on both Instagram and TikTok. You can reach out to me on Instagram, and I'll be more than happy to help you.
Perfect. And we'll have those links down in the show notes and things like that. So people can reach out to you anytime. We're recording this in June. You're opening the club in July. But as you said, it'll be there until probably
probably November, December.
Okay, November, December. Okay, perfect.
That's my plan. So
And let's say this, guys. I know that, podcast episodes are evergreen, so you can listen to this anytime. Maybe this is 2027 when you're getting around to this episode. That doesn't mean just because this conversation club isn't open now or then, there won't be something else, right? So check out what
there's always, I'm always trying to innovate. So there's always going to be an option. If you reach out to me and I say, hey, I have no spots available, try again next month, because there's always going to be a chance.
Yeah, and I feel like this whole thing has kind of hovered around the ideas of, hey, if you are a teacher, if you are a learner, I've heard many times about experimenting, right? Just giving something a try. Don't be worried about making mistakes. That's how things go. You gotta learn. You gotta spend time. Maybe you have to spend some money. Because let's face it, spending money makes things go faster. Generally, you learn quicker. And so I think that the same things that we've learned in these past few years can be applied kind of to anybody doing this like us, or somebody learning English too. They're the same skills, I feel like. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, as usual, Drew, thank you so much for joining us today. And we love talking together, and we have no trouble talking. So let's plan another episode soon. Actually, let's plan your first podcast episode.
Yeah.
And let's get that under your belt. Because like everything else, getting started is usually the hardest thing, right? Showing up is the hardest thing. Everything else will take care of
I just feel like it's scary, like starting all over again, like something new, like because podcast is not the same as making a video on TikTok. So I'm just scared of feeling a beginner again in something. But it's exciting. It's just exciting.
And let us all just remember and support you and say, like, yes, it's difficult starting something new, especially for me when I look at, oh my God, podcast. Oh, I don't want to start it and then not finish it, right? Or not work on it. I don't want to start a big project and then drop it. So being ready, I think, to handle this challenge, like we said earlier, that shows so much growth. So we're here to support you, and we're going to be right behind you. So to lessen that. So
thank you.
Thank
you for having me.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you again for coming. And guys, thank you so much also for showing up and listening to us today. We love you, and we'll talk to you again in an episode soon. Bye, guys. See you soon. Thanks again, everybody, for listening all the way to the end. And I like to share something personal that's happening at the time of recording. Almost like a little time capsule, since these episodes are going to stick around for years. Well, today I want to tell you something related to my 5-year teaching anniversary. And if you're watching this podcast on YouTube, or you've seen some of my other YouTube videos starting in about 2025, you've probably seen my nice dark gray studio. So professional. Well, it wasn't always like this. In my apartment, there's a little room, tiny little room in the back. And that's where I started with my itty bitty teeny tiny studio. Well, after my roommate moved abroad this past year, we built this nice studio, and that poor little room kind of went unloved for about a year. But now it's getting a makeover. It's getting a facelift, and that room is getting fixed up to be kind of a meditation space for me, or a place where I can do some sewing or other crafts. Of course, don't tell anybody. It's probably just going to end up being storage, but at least it'll be pretty storage. But we'll see. I'll give you the update and tell you how things go, but I can't wait to show you the before and after pictures of what used to be my old studio and how that's going to evolve too, just like me. So until then, if you have a specific topic about accents or pronunciation that you'd like to hear about, let me know and I'll try to make it a reality. And if not, well, then I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye for now.